to your dealer now for the Power and Performance Sales Event. Get up to 7 years of Yamaha warranty protection free, or earn up to $200 in dealer credit. Yamaha Power and Performance has never been a better value.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
That's video courtesy of Fisherman's headquarters somewhere out along the beaches off of Long Beach Island here in Ocean County at the Jersey Shore sometime last week. Birds wheeling and diving on bait. Now, a lot of folks are saying herring, which is more than likely, but based on another week of tackle shop fishing reports at thefisherman.com and some friendly observations from folks, bunker are getting thick in our waters as well. I mentioned the word transition in last week's video fishing forecast in Tuckerton. I think with this beautifully warm weather we have outside this week throughout the region, that transition should come early in 2024, and striped bass madness will ensue to the plugger's delight well before the month of March has ended. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. It's March 14th, Thursday. St. Patrick's Day weekend is ahead of us, and a huge event to tell you about in Edison this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But before we jump into the Saltwater Fishing Expo and a quick rundown on the current striped bass outlook, let's return to Galloway Township last Thursday, March 7th. That's where I was for the meeting of the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council, where they set the fluke and porgy regs for 2024. A little over 100 people were packed into that itsy-bitsy tiny little Atlantic County Library room there on Jimmy Leeds Road in Galloway, and roughly 150 people online. So kudos to the council and to the folks at the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife who made sure that anyone and everyone in person and online who had a preference, who wanted to speak out on the fluke regulations for 2024, had a chance to do so. And the public tally, by my accounts, and I keep pretty close notes, it was roughly 14-1 in favor of option 32 over option 57. None of the other options got any votes whatsoever. Now, the advisory panel themselves fairly unanimous in their support of option 32, and the council ended up voting 7-1 in favor of a 3-fish bag limit, 18-inch minimum size, and a May 4th through September 25th season for summer flounder. So yes, May the 4th be with you. I spoke to the one dissenting council member who is a friend of mine, and he told me that his opposition vote was more of a protest in the thought that he felt that the options presented to anglers for 28% reduction were pretty rotten. So it wasn't out of disrespect to the Division of Fish and Wildlife or to the majority of anglers who wanted that option 32, but just an in general protest, rotten to the core. He felt the smaller size limit, some type of smaller size limit, not having that option made things difficult. And it's hard to argue with that when you consider that Delaware starts off the season right now. They can go flounder fishing in the Delaware Bay right now on a 16-inch size limit. That's the way it is in Delaware and Maryland as well. So that's a good point. Now, I will tell you the council also noted that New Jersey's special management zone regulations would remain in effect, that being a 17-inch minimum and 3 fluke size limit west of the coal regs on Delaware Bay, and that's on the Jersey side, and a 16-inch minimum size and 2 per angler limit at Island Beach State Park, same as last year. And again, these limits are going to be in place 2024 and 2025. Also included in the regulatory change was a new recreational porgy season with a 10-inch minimum size and a 30-fish bag limit with an open season from January 1st through June 30th, which is where we are right now, of course, and again from September 1st to December 31st. Theoretically, like I said, porgy season should be open right now according to these new regulations. However, we do have to wait for the NJDEP, New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the Commissioner Sean LaTourette, to officially sign his name at the bottom of this regulatory document. And that could happen any day now. It may have already happened while I'm doing this video. Could happen tomorrow. Could happen in a few weeks. I have no idea. Addressing recreational fishing issues clearly is not high on Commissioner LaTourrette's daily task list. I think he's still auditioning for climate czar or EPA chairman. I'm not exactly sure. Keep on auditioning. The rest of us will suffer. Now, council, of course, remains 2 seats short of a full slate. That was brought up again last Thursday. I don't see any change coming. I don't see that change coming anytime soon. As for speckled trout fishermen in South Jersey, this is something we've been talking about 4 or 5 years. Speckled trout under a legislative line in the administrative code is considered the same thing as weak fish in the state of New Jersey. So even though we can have more flexible, looser limits on speckled trout in New Jersey for the guys out of Cape May who catch more of them every fall, because the state of New Jersey considers weak fish and speckled trout the same, it's got to go through some kind of legal paperwork. That's been 4 or 5 years in the making, snail's pace. I know a lot of folks say they don't like their politics mixed with their fishing. Well, what can I say? Fisheries management is politics all the time. Now, one item of importance did come out of last Thursday's meeting. It was a comment, excuse me, from Council Member Pat Donnelly, who is also chairman of that fluke advisory committee that made the recommendation for 3 at 18. Pat said, quote, "Additional comments were made at the meeting regarding the location of the Marine Fisheries Council meetings held in southern New Jersey, providing challenges to stakeholders in the northern region of the state and their ability to attend in person given the time of day and the location of the council meetings." End quote. So at least that was memorialized. So maybe the state of New Jersey will give ample consideration on that in the future. Once these fluke and porgy regs are signed off by LaTourrette, once he gets off his butt to sign the paper, again, I said it will be in place for 2024 and 2025. That means I don't think the March 2025 council meeting is going to be packed because there's not going to be a change to the fluke limits, not that we can see. However, we could see some new regulations next year on black sea bass. For now, black sea bass remains unchanged. It's the same as it was before. It'll open up in May. They are locked in for 2024. But next year, it's a whole new year, whole new season of fisheries politics. Now, depending on whether or not you say pork roll or Taylor ham, fluke or flounder, anglers from all over the state of New Jersey and the tri-state region will descend upon the New Jersey Convention and Expo Center at 97 Sunfield Avenue in Edison this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, March 15th through the 17th for the return of the Saltwater Fishing Expo. Now, doors open Friday at noon, the show running until 8 p.m. Saturday is 10 to 6. Sunday 10 to 5. So whatever you're looking for to fish saltwater in New Jersey or anywhere along the coast, the mid-Atlantic Northeast coast, you're going to find it there at the Saltwater Fishing Expo this weekend. I'll be there with the rest of the Fisherman staff in booth 461. That's as soon as you walk through the front door into the main hall, hang a left. We're set up right in front of the folks from Fisherman's headquarters. Get there early. We do have a limited supply of the 5-inch Tidal Pro iPop Popper from Tsunami for your new and renewing subscription to the Fisherman magazine. Once we're out of those 5-inch, it's back to these wonderful 4-inch because we've got them as well. A terrific early season sod bank popper. I can't wait to start throwing that again. Throw it a little bit in the fall. Hope to maybe start next week. But that's what we'll have. You'll also get that $20 gift card from Surehold Marine Products. That gift certificate is going to be sent to you via email. But wait, there's more. Ronco presents, no, seriously, take the receipt from the Fisherman magazine subscription you get this weekend at the Saltwater Fishing Expo, then run over to the Fish Bites booth, and they'll give you a bag of fish bites as well as that. So you can now, you can prepare for May 4th fluke season. And you know what they say? You know what says no to fish bites?
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing. That nothing says no to fish bites.
For you bait slingers, bloodworms are getting it done on the Hackensack, Raritan, Mullica, Great Egg, Delaware, and yes, the toms. Manny Butera, author of the March edition article on early season striped bass, he checked in with me on Tuesday with another 5 bass up to 31 inches using bloodworms with a little bit of fish bites bloodworm on there as well. That warmer weather we're seeing this week sure should help. You know, I talked to Dennis at Hook House Bait and Tackle last week. He said it in those periods after a lot of heavy rain, once that fresh water loads up in the Toms River, those bass, they tend to push a little bit east and spread out throughout Barnegat Bay. West winds on Monday and very stiff really push the tide out fast. So I think we're going to find those bass are layering in rather nicely in the back rivers throughout the Garden State. Liza at Creekside Outfitters in Waretown, she said some folks are plugging along the sedges on the west side of Barnegat Bay as well. And again, those muddy flats and shallow water with nice sun, it's going to warm up faster. Warms up the brown mud soaks up that sun, tide moves, warms up the water, hence you get some action. I was also talking to Jenni Ackerman earlier this week. We were taking some photos for an upcoming article. She says she's been out and about sticking a few stripers on swim shads. She's not sharing any spots with me. I guess a year is just not enough time to work together before you share your secret spots with a friend. But we were talking about plugging opportunities like next week after the Saltwater Fishing Expo. You know, maybe throwing some of those gliders and twitch baits. I think that's the transition point based on temps near 70 this week. And after the St. Patrick's Day weekend, the Saltwater Fishing Expo, I think things are right on the mark, right on the calendar in order to start really whacking at some stripers next week. Now, Jenni was doing some spring cleaning in her workshop this week and offers some intel on some of her favorite artificials, plugs, and lures that should be ready for you to deploy this season along the striper grounds. No doubt, as of this week or next, along some of your favorite secret spots.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Today, my little open boaters, we're going to be talking about some of my favorite lures for the spring run. Now, I just spent this whole evening organizing my fishing stuff. I don't know, every single time I organize the great wall of lures and my rods, I think I make progress cleaning it, but it just looks the same every single time. But looking at this wall reminded me to get stuff ready for the spring run, fishing up north, and I wanted to go over with you guys just a couple, only a few. I'm gonna spill the beans on some of the lures that I love to use. Only spilling the beans on the lures, not the locations where I'm fishing, because you know, loose slips sink ships and we don't want that this spring run. So let's get into it. My first plug that I always have in my plug bag is a Shimano Colt Sniper. Actually, they called the current snipers now, but Shimano current snipers. And you could use an SP minnow or a hydro minnow. I just personally like the current snipers. You know, the underdog, I'm fishing the underdog plug here. But this is a perfect example. You can see the hooks are rusty on why you should do spring cleaning like I am today with replacing rusty hooks, because you do not want to be fishing rusty hooks. So the current sniper I love because it just cuts through the water. It can get nice and deep in the water column depending on how I reel it. And it's always my go-to. It's one of the first plugs I throw in spots where I'm fishing. If I don't see like a little top water bite or I don't see stripers swirling, I'm gonna throw this first and see if I can get into a bite. So the next plug is the new Tsunami little twitch glide bait we got here. This is new to Tsunami, but you should be seeing it in your local tackle shops and at the fishing shows. It is a perfect bunker imitator. Has a little rattle action going on in there. And what's cool about it is you don't even have to do anything while you're retrieving it. You just cast it out, slowly retrieve. It does big zigzags in the water like that. And then a little bit faster, it does kind of more close zigzags. And then if you do give it a little twitch, it is a twitch bait. It flutters up and imitates a bunker that just got tail smacked by a 50-pounder. Like absolutely perfect imitation. So this is the one lure I'm gonna be fishing 90% of the time this spring run, because this one spot that I fish, I figured it out like clockwork. it just works. The twitch baits always work. Twitch baits and gliders just always work. So make sure you get yourself one of these new hot glide baits from Tsunami. Moving on, we have the infamous NLBN. Of course, everyone has an NLBN in their plug bag any time of the season because they work. They're great. You can use them off the boat too. This one I've used for a while. You can see how beat up it is. This is the 5-incher in Hell Yeah Butter, and it's 1.5 ounces. And literally, I love NLBN's jig heads because they have that corkscrew. So when you're putting on the soft plastic, the corkscrew and the soft plastic just connect. So when a striper bites it, it's not pulling that soft plastic down, potentially ripping it off the hook. So it's like the best bang for your buck because you're having like the soft plastic stay on there longer. You're not losing soft plastics. You don't have to go back to the tackle shop and buy more soft plastics. They stay on the hook longer and they are efficient. So shout out to those Florida boys for making something that stripers cannot resist. And now one last thing. The other infamous lure that you've probably heard me talk about countless times because I've caught my biggest stripers on it, the Gen X bucktail. Now this bucktail is just simple red head, white hair, some little red feathers on the back. I have caught my biggest stripers on it, caught my biggest last October on it off the surf, but in the spring run, there's one spot where I like to fish that has a super, super strong underwater current, and I fish it a little bit differently. I'll use a 3 or a 2 ounce bucktail, something heavy that can make it down to the bottom quick, and I just gently jig it off those rocks, and there's one spot where I feel my bucktail drop down a little. It's almost like you're blackfishing when you find a good hole. It drops down, and then it gets smacked because those big stripers are hiding underneath that strong ripping current, waiting for bait fish to get just thrown into the ring, basically. I'm basically like foaming at the mouth thinking about it because it's just like the best spot. And there was one night where I caught 3 decent hefty lungers there, and I was so tired, but all on the same bucktail, fishing it the same way. Every single time, it always works, it always pays off. So I have a million plugs here on my wall. I'm only showing you those because I have an article coming out in the April edition going over more plugs for the spring run. And I want your intel on this. Come and see me at the Fisherman magazine booth at the Edison Saltwater Expo. I'm gonna be there Friday and Saturday. And I'm gonna be doing an open boat where I'm asking you viewers what your favorite spring run lure is. So definitely come and see me. You're gonna be featured on next week's open boat, and we're gonna be going through all your favorite lures, and I'm really excited to hear what different lures you guys like to use. It's always fun talking to fellow anglers about their favorites, and I can't wait to see you all on next week's open boat.
You know, Jenny, in her video, she mentioned the twitch baits in that weekly segment. One hot offering last fall during the fall run, which you can expect to be a killer this spring as well. The Yazori twitch bait. Now, if you're heading to the Saltwater Fishing Expo this weekend, keep this in mind. When you buy any 2 Yazori plugs, you take that receipt over to Chris Bishop in the Yazori booth, and they will give you a special edition yellow bunker twitch bait free. I don't know if this special edition yellow twitch bait will be available on the market this season, but you can certainly be the first when you go to the Saltwater Fishing Expo this weekend. And suddenly bunker patterns probably matter quite a bit. I saw South Jersey surfcaster George Bucci, who I expect will be in the Century booth at times this weekend. He posted on Facebook, quote, "Can't get anything through them without bouncing off of them and snagging them being menhaden, bunker, pogy, bugmouth, whatever you prefer to call them. At this point, it's really only a matter of time before we all begin hearing the regular chirping sound of ospreys and maybe the first cackle of the laughing gull, sure signs of spring. I have heard my first spring peepers in the last couple of weeks, so we're really right around that time that spring will be sprung. It's not official yet, is it? I don't think so. I think maybe next week spring is official. Greg O'Connell is a good friend of mine. He's president of the Association of Surf Angling Clubs, Merchantville Fishing Club. He swears by a 45-degree ocean water temperature at Atlantic City to turn those bass to the west into the back bays in force. Now, we hit that mark, according to Greg, for the first time last Monday. And lo and behold, the graveling point action begins. This week, following the nasties over the weekend, we're creeping back up again off of Atlantic City, where we saw roughly 44 degrees based on the tidal stage earlier in the week. I'm sure if you check that temperature at Atlantic City again heading into this weekend, I hope and I think that you'll find that 45-degree up range is hit, which really should open up the plugging opportunities in the back bays. Soft plastics, kettle creeks, or the NLBNs under dock lights at night, those are working right now. Those twitch baits and some of the smaller Rapala X-Wraps as well, all worth a shot. Just for laughs, I plan on trying one of these fine plugs, one of the Tsunami 4-inch eye poppers, maybe my favorite Yazori 3D inshore popper as well, one evening next week, just to see if I can find any takers along one of my favorite riverfront stretches in Ocean County. We'll just put that there and hope that I don't get hooked. It's happened before. Winter flounder, of course, is another option for you. The folks out there at Fisherman's Den in Belmar, they said folks are giving it a shot on the local docks. Nothing has fired up yet, really, so you don't necessarily have to bundle up for a winter flounder score either. A lot of folks were last week, but warmer weather, sunny skies, more comfortable fishing. It's also when the winter flounder are often coming out to play as well. Used to winter flounder fish a little bit behind LBI. That range for whatever's left is farther to the north. Think behind Bayhead. Some of those locations, of course, Shark River and stretches along the two rivers up in Monmouth County as well. If you want to give that a shot, stop by the Den, perhaps Julian's in Atlantic Highlands. Go see Phil and the guys at the Tackle Box, Steve over at Upfront Bait and Tackle. They could probably help you get geared up for winter flounder. Also visit thefisherman.com. I've mentioned that the last couple of weeks. There's a winter flounder option under the species button on our homepage, and you can open up a whole cache of articles about winter flounder fishing by boat or by bank. Don't forget that March edition of the Fisherman magazine. You'll get that free copy at the Edison Show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be out there for the Saltwater Expo. Tips and tactics on March stripers. Of course, Jenni Ackerman has a blackfish piece. That won't open again in New Jersey until April 1st, when our for-hire fleet should be running full cylinder, right? Striped bass are around, then we start fishing for blackfish. Then black sea bass opens up in May. There's also a shad article by Captain Jimmy Frieda in there. That's a fishery that should be kicking into gear itself in just a matter of days. Now, the tri-state trout season will be underway again in early April. I think the downstate options in Delaware are open at this point, but I believe it's fully open throughout the state of Delaware on April 7th. And of course, April 6th, that's when New Jersey and Pennsylvania ramp up for the 2024 trout season. A reminder this week from the state of New Jersey, as of Monday, March 18th, that's Monday coming ahead, nearly all of New Jersey's trout-stocked waters will be closed for stocking efforts. No catch and release during that 2-week stretch this year, except on certain waters that you'll find listed in that Freshwater Fisheries Digest from the State Division of Fish and Wildlife. You know, like the trout conservation areas, the holdover lakes, there's a few other options in there as well. We'll have the full stocking breakdown. This March edition won't last long because the April edition is coming out in a couple of weeks, and I've got all the stocking information from the crazy man himself, Tom P. from Rack and Fin Radio. That will be in your April edition. I have a few more events to talk about this coming weekend, and a complete rundown of the freshwater options is right here, right now, including touching upon that shad bite Here's my friend George, the Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, we're going to start this week off right away with our shad watch. The lousy weather over the weekend and the rain and the cold actually pushed things back a little bit. I know we always hope for that early shad season. Water just approaches that 50-degree mark, and then we get one of those storms and Mother Nature just takes over. Now, we did bump the river temp down a few more degrees. I think it was about 43 degrees when I checked it just before this report. But the weather this week, I think, is going to really improve conditions. Maybe in the next coming week, we'll start to get of shad being in Delaware. But right now, I don't have anything much. You know, the water's a little bit high, it's a little bit cool, so we'll see how things go in the next few days. But I think we're in for some improving conditions if you're out on the river this week. Other things you can do, Paul Stewart, he's down there in South Jersey. He managed to get himself a new PB largemouth bass. Yeah, the big girls are starting to move into the shallow water. He picked up a 7-pound, 11-ounce largemouth on a 6-cent paddle tail swim bait. So great work there, Paul. Also on the Philly side, or Pennsylvania side, Nick Canestra was down there running jerk baits up in those shallows, getting himself another nice largemouth. Guys, if you want to get into the stripers, we've been talking about the landlocked stripers. Beltsville, I had Jeremy Green check in. He got his first striper of the 2024 season. So, guys, a lot of the things are starting to run and pick up. Hopefully the weather stays calm enough for us to get out and get on them. But be sure you get out and get on them and send us those pics. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors Guy.
In addition to all the special deals you'll find in Edison this weekend at the Saltwater Fishing Expo, there are a couple of other Garden State events coming up where you can save big on the gear that you need this season. Now, this Saturday, March 16th, down in Cape May County, you have the Ocean City Red Raider Fishing Flea Market. That's from 9 to 1 at the Ocean City Civic Center, which is located at 840 East 6th Street in Ocean City, New Jersey. Admission is $5. Proceeds go to the Ocean City High School and Intermediate School Fishing Clubs. For details, give Nick a call at 609-408-0196. Last I heard, all the tables are locked up, so it should be a pretty good event. There's also an event in Frenchtown. I believe a lot of the old Sargentville guys will be out there. That's Sunday, March 17th from 9 to 2 at the Kingwood Fire Hall at 952 County Road, Route 519. If you want some details on that event, it's Tom that you can call at 267-885-7179. Then on Monday, March 18th, my man, Chuck Manny, is headed over to Gabriel Tackle in Brick to talk up the Manny method, fishing live eels for jumbo striped bass. If you want a personal best, this is absolutely the tactic you want to follow. I plan to be there myself, pick up a couple additional tips. It starts at 6:30 p.m. That's a Gabriel Tackle. It's on Maniloking Road in Brick. Frank says he's got some raffles, refreshments, and in-store specials as well. One last bit this week, and I'm still shaking off my Atlantic City Boat Show cold, which I'll probably get the Saltwater Fishing Expo flu this weekend, and then it's all over at that point. One last bit, it's another quick management hit for you. Since covering last week's fluke decision out of Galloway, a lot of folks keep asking me about the commercial fishing community and their cutbacks. The answer is yes. The comms take a cut this year, just as the wrecks have. It's just in a different way. Let's go over this real quick. The Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission and Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council, under mandate from NOAA Fisheries, they approved a reduction in the 2024 harvest on fluke, setting the commercial quota of 8.79 million pounds and a recreational harvest of 6.35 million pounds for 2024 and 2025. The chart is on the screen. If you can see that, you can see what the difference is from the year before. So yeah, we both took a cut. You just got to keep in mind, one sticking point with the comms and recs is quota allocation. 55% of the annual fluke quota gets handed over to the commercials. The recreational community gets 45. It used to be 60-40 up until a couple of years ago. And up until a couple of years ago when we got 55-45, we could have done a heck of a lot better, but some of the council cowards from within our own community, they buckled. But I digress. The big question I get a lot is, why is it that the commercial size limit on fluke is 14 inches, yet the recreational size limit for most of New Jersey is now 18 inches? Well, I have an answer, and I think it makes sense even if you might not like the management concept here. So commercial netters use a minimum mesh size on their gear, mandated. It's 5.5 inches for a diamond mesh. It's 6 inches for a square mesh. This is designed to allow a certain escapement of smaller fish. And those that can escape are ultimately brought to the commercial deck, onto the boat. Bang! It all gets unloaded. If it's 14 inches in length, it goes into the box. It counts against the quota. If it's under 14 inches, it gets thrown back over, right? So it's theoretically a dead fish. In other words, commercial catch gets offloaded, total poundage is weighed, there's sales tax receipts, and some statistician is sitting somewhere tallying up all the weigh-ins for the commercial sector. And once they hit that 8.79 million pound commercial fluke quota, the fishery is done for the year. That statistician gets on the phone and says, shut it down, it's all over. It's all based on poundage, right? And if the commercial folks had our 18-inch size limit, you know what would happen? In theory, every dead fluke under 18 inches, 17, 16, 15, would get thrown back dead, wouldn't count against their quota. So that smaller fish, that 14-inch size, that counts against their quota. It's just a way to meet their quota while reducing dead, undersized bycatch more efficiently. Now, let's go over to the recreational community. Excuse me. In the recreational sector, we don't weigh our catch dockside with up-to-the-minute reporting of our fluke tallies. Can you imagine if 500,000 anglers had to check in someplace at the end of every day? Instead, NOAA Fisheries breaks down our total poundage, which for 2024 and 2025 is 6.35 million pounds. They convert that to a bunch of numbers of fish because we don't do poundage, so they convert it to numbers. For example, and this is just for simplicity's sake, if the state-by-state breakdown of quota were to be that New Jersey anglers got 1 million pounds of total quota, and if we were to assume that, let's say on average, our keepers weigh on average 2.5 pounds. I don't know if this is the assumption, the exact numbers, but let's just do it this way because I'm not good at math and it makes sense. So if you were to break down 1 million pounds and the average weight of the fish that we catch is 2.5 pounds, in this scenario, we'd be allowed to kill 400,000 fluke in New Jersey this season. So if we had a 14-inch size limit for keepers and a 3-fish bag limit, how quickly do you think we'd harvest 400,000 fluke? Wouldn't take very long based on us having 500,000 anglers in the state of New Jersey. So all those fluke options that you saw presented over the last couple of months, what happens is if you raise the size limit on fluke and make it more difficult to catch a keeper, you can lengthen the season. But if you want to lower the size limit on fluke in the recreational community to make it easier, then we have to fish on a shorter season. So our size limit is the base point in terms of all the various options. You combine that with the number of days allowed to fish, that's how the government sets the recreational specs every year. It's a method of keeping recreational fishing members like us. It's a method of keeping us from catching more fish so that we can fish more days. So the comms, the commercial guys, they're managed on pounds, tallied at the dock. That shorter fish counts just the same as a bigger fish, except in terms of poundage. That gets tallied, counted up, all stuffed into a computer program and monitored by some government statisticians. Statisticians, of course, are the ones that monitor us using dockside sampling, the Marine Recreational Information Program, or MRIP. That is the basis for the size limit for us versus the size limit in the commercial sector. Statisticians. Or as Mark Twain probably said it best, well before NOAA Fisheries ever existed. Now, I hope to see you this weekend, Saltwater Fishing Expo. Stop by the booth, say hello, pick up your free copy of Fisherman magazine, the March edition. Take advantage of our great specials. The Tsunami Plug, the $20 short hold gift certificate, the Fish Bites deal. We've got a drawing for a Sterling wide tracker this week as well. This is your last chance to take advantage of special offers for membership to the Fisherman magazine. By the way, I'm joining a few friends in the seminar room there at the Saltwater Fishing Expo on Saturday afternoon. The guys from Berkeley Striper Club, Alberto Nee, a bunch of scientists. John Tiedemann professor at Monmouth University has put together 2 roundtable workshops on Saturday. I'm honored to be a part of one of them. So if I'm not in the booth on Saturday when you stop by, you'll probably find me in the seminar area talking, well, what do we always talk about? Striped bass, of course. Have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day weekend. Sláinte, and I'll see you in Edison.